Okay, I think we're back. We had the temporary internet issue. And one of wait, I think I've missed the chat. What's going on? Yeah, one of the viewers is saying that people were typing in the chat, but on my end nothing was appearing. What's going on, YouTube? What are you doing? Okay, my messages seem to show up. Yeah, something is off with the YouTube chat integration, I think, because I see no chat messages at all other than mine. I don't see any problems here, but I don't see anything on chat either. What's going on? I see no participants in chat right now and nothing written. It shows that it's streaming, everything is good, everything is green, stream is public. Oh, now I see a test. Kevin? Yep, now I saw it. Now it shows up. How much is the delay? Yes, I can see the chat now. Can you estimate how much is the delay based on my responses? It's supposed to be very, very low, but I don't know if the OBS settings can affect YouTube as well. Okay, I saw the delay message right now. Seven to 8 seconds. Okay, that's not too bad. And yeah, apparently chat was not working properly. I couldn't see any messages at all. I did not ignore anyone. And then I had a temporary internet outage, so stream dropped. I was saying at that point, what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, I think I was finishing the chain flail, and yeah, we're talking about the spellcasting foci of the spellcasters. Since most of the spell, not most, a big chunk of the spells use saving throws. Casters do not have the chance to make an attack roll, crit, and then proc an effect. So a new system needs to be placed for that. A new system that should not be very complicated, but also balanced. I had several thoughts about this. One of them, if you're playing with open rolls, like the DM is playing with open rolls everywhere, it's easy. You just trigger it the same if they fail saving throws and not one. The 3 or lower is much more chance than the crit. Also, if the rolls are not open, it's a little bit clunky. So instead of that, I was thinking, since most of my games are, actually all of my games are in Foundry, and you can automate some things, you can have you can make a roll with your spellcasting focus and or your instrument, and it can be a D20 roll or a D100 roll. You can integrate that into the focus or the tool. On the D20 roll, it's gonna be, the trigger is gonna be the crit. On the D100, you have a bit more options to play there, and you can put more scales, like from 95 or higher, or 90 or higher, to trigger the effect. Now, the second balance problem here is that martial classes will attack more times in a round than spellcasting classes will cast a spell. So inherently, they get more chances to trigger this effect, which means that the trigger for the spellcasters needs to be a little bit easier, since they're only casting 1, maximum 2 spells per round. On the other hand, the martial attacks have a limited amount of damage. Their damage comes from the repetition of the attacks rather than the damage of the attack itself, since all of them are the same. On the casters, though, a fireball will make 1 attack, but it will roll 8 d6s. So if we put any condition on 6 or higher, for example, like we did with weapons, it's gonna trigger pretty much on every fireball. Like it's very low chance to not get a 6 out of 8 d6s. So for the casters so far, we have much harder to get into the crit range, chances, but then much easier once you get there to trigger an effect. So instead of doing all these complicated balance math in order to make it similar with the martial classes, we can just have it a little bit easier to get with a D100 chance, for example, 10% instead of 5%. Or yeah, I think that the 10% is okay. Actually, this is where the differences from the spellcasting focus can start playing part. Some of them can trigger from 95 upwards, others on 90 upwards, maybe on 85 even. And the effect is how will the effect trigger though after that? Low saving throw to trigger the effect. I don't think the effect would be based on spell damage type. Yeah, the spell damage type does make sense for the different effects. Of course, we cannot give a different effect to every single spell, but we're trying to give an effect on the type of the focus now. So if we combine the two, different focus and different element, we have way too many combinations. Like, we have to make so many different effects. So for now, we'll just stick with the spellcasting focus type. Problem is with the saving throw is that they're not open. So a lot of the excitement is wasted there. Like, the DM tells you that, oh, it rolled low, yeah, you triggered the effect, instead of seeing the dice roll and getting excited and all that stuff that comes with it. So I think we can have the simplest method is just we put a roll. Different depending if it's a cantrip or a level spell. That's a good point, because cantrip will be spammed, but level spells will not be spammed. The chances, I think, should be the same, because either way, you're spending your action to try and trigger it. So since you're spending your action in both cases, the chance should be the same. Now, the effect could scale with the level, which is an easy thing to do. You just put a multiplier by level of the spell in the triggering effects. And that's the easy part to do. Now, the hard part to do is, okay, we got a way to simulate crits in saving throws, which is the D20 that I mentioned. How do we put the low and high effect? For example, in our greatsword, we had one level of exhaustion for every d6 that was rolled. How do we put a similar effect on spells, since spells have so many different dice combinations and numbers, and they change per level? How do we make a unified system that would work with every spell? That's the big, the difficult part with the spells. Wild Mike, you mean the D100 roll, or you don't want to give it too many different effects? Yeah, and yeah, I don't want to go into wild magic territory, of course. We don't want to simulate a subclass here. There is a very generic, not very flavored, but easy fix. Since all the previous effects that we made, according to our dice probability calculator, our big effects range from, the big effects are at 10% chance, 5 to 10% chance, and these low effects were between 25 and 50. We can just simulate that with D100 rolls. It's gonna feel a little bit like wild magic since they're rolling D100 as well there. But other than that, the effects will not be randomized. There will be like 2 scale effects on each spellcasting focus, and that's about it. You're just basing it on a D100 roll. And based on that, maybe you can have a multiplier The types of focuses. So two main types, two categories, the druidic focuses and the arcane focuses. On the arcane focuses, we'll have orb, staff, wand, and rod. So 4 different arcane focuses. And for druidic, we'll have, I think, 2 types. One will be bone or part of an animal, and the other one would be branch, stick, or part of a plant. So animal versus plant focus on druids. Now, no, it will not be only on damage spells, because the bonuses will be, and the effects will be more universal. So I was thinking just one example as an initial. Loots as well. Bards have their own. Then they have quite a lot. The categories on bards would be like, what are the names? String instrument, then drum instrument, drum type. I don't know the correct names for the acoustic, for the music type. Like those that you use with strings, those that you hit, those that you blow. What other instrument types do they? I don't think there's a piano. So based on the category of the instrument, each category will have a different bonus type, bonus effect, sorry. Now there are several problems we need to tackle with this in order to achieve simplicity and variation. Let's say we put it with a D100 roll. It needs to be either 2 rolls or a complicated table from what I see. Because on the martial weapons, first you have to crit, right? Crit is a 5% chance. Actually, not always. Some conditions allow you to crit on 19 or 20 or 18 or 30, etc., etc. But in general, in most cases, it's a 5% chance. However, they hit multiple times. So if we go to the dice calculator, let's go to the dice calculator for a moment. Let's say a fighter can hit 3 times in a round. Including maybe reactions, not only attacks. What is the chance to get at least 120? So the chance is 14.2%. So we want our casters to have a similar chance. So somewhere between 5 and 15, maybe based on levels. How would we do that? Yes, change the chance based on the spell level. So, okay, we need an easy formula. So at cantrip, it will be 5%. Okay, so let's start with cantrips. Will be 5% trigger. You can attack once with a cantrip, so you only get a 5% chance on a round, let's say. And then every level up of the spell, we have 9 levels of spells following. If we went with 5% extra, then the 9th level spell slot has 50% chance to trigger it. Now, depending on what effect we give it, this might be unbalanced. Of course, you will not be spamming 9th level spells, right? So it doesn't sound so unbalanced right now. We could go with 5% extra per level of spell. Let's start writing this down because I'm gonna forget. So, spell casting. Foci. Cantrip. 5% chance. 5% chance extra for each level of spell slots used. So a 3rd level spell, for example, will have 20% chance to trigger it. So we're going into fireball territory, as you can imagine now. So a fireball has a 20% chance of triggering an extra effect. Okay. Right now it doesn't sound bad or good because we haven't decided on the effect yet. Now will come the hard part, since we already given the chances, and it is decently high chance, I'd say. Each spellcasting focus needs to have a different effect. Let's make a list so we know what we have to make. The arcane ones are wand, rod, orb, crystal, right? These are the arcane ones. Or is it orb and crystal the same and I'm missing one? Does anyone remember? I think these are, oh wait, staff. There is staff as well. So there are 5. Why did I remember 4? Okay. And then we have instruments. We have string instruments. What are they called? I need to Google up the names so I'm not giving amateur descriptions every time I want to talk about them. Types of instruments. The great majority of musical instruments fall readily into one of 6 categories: bowed strings, woodwind, brass, percussion, keyboard, and the guitar family. Spell subclasses that can use other things as spell focus, like weapons or tools. Can you give me an example? Nothing comes to mind. Artificer, yes. I think you know the answer, Paul. Why would I start making things about artificers when I know that I'm never gonna play with one? If I would want to publish this as a product to sell, yes, maybe I would have to think about it. But I'm currently making just a system for the groups that I play with and for other DMs that might share similar perspectives with me in D&D. But both Artificer and Blade Singers are out of my games at least, and they will never use a focus. Also, if some class for some reason uses a very unique spell casting focus, there's probably a good reason for it. Like there must be some special feature, some special ability that pushes a class to use something else for a focus, which means that there's already an advantage tied to it. Otherwise, they don't do it for flavor. Like there's some mechanical advantage tied with that unique selection. So if it already has an advantage, probably doesn't need one more. These generic foci, they have no advantages and they're just there for flavor. So that's why we try to give them one now. And according to my very quick Google search, that there are 3 main types of instruments, at least in the fantasy setting. Like there are no synthesizers or pianos, at least for characters. So we have string instruments, wind instruments, and percussion instruments. Making sure I'm typing them correctly. Okay. And then for the druidic foci, we have 2 categories only: animal and plant. So total, he has a portable organ that I missed. Where did you hide that? So we have a total of 5 plus 3 plus 2, a total of 10, solid number, 10 different spellcasting foci. I know the paladin and the cleric use a holy symbol, but that's one type, and also they don't really need to hold it. They have like an advantage that it can be on their neck, on their shield, and there is no variation. Like they just get a holy symbol, so there's not much point. I don't think they really need an extra effect there to help them choose. They just get the holy symbol anyway. If it starts feeling that the other classes have a distinctive advantage over them, then maybe. But so far, paladins and clerics are doing very fine in my games. They rarely need extra boosts. And they will have other choices that differentiate their style quite a lot, meaning their huge lists of spells. So 10 different spellcasting foci here to make 10 different effects. Now this is tricky. Think of a caster with a staff, okay? And then think of a caster with a crystal. As an image, do you get any difference in their fighting style? Like one of them looks like Gandalf with a staff. The other one looks, I don't know what fictional character has a crystal holds a crystal always. There is no very distinctive difference in fighting style. Maybe the staff feels a little bit more defensive, like you could, I don't know, block some weak attack with your staff, something that would not shatter your staff into 2. Or maybe land a weak hit with it as well. Crystals have a mythology of storing energy. Okay, that's good. Let me type that so I don't forget. Energy store. Staff more natural. Okay, so we can give the staff some kind of mechanical fighting bonus. For example, let's say you trigger you pass your checks, you trigger your special ability. maybe an increase to your AC for a round, or an increase to AC against opportunity attacks. So it could help you reposition after you cast a spell with less chance of getting hit, like blocking an attack with the staff while casting the spell at the same time. So it could be a low effect. So we have not determined chances yet, I think. Okay, low effect. If the low effect is extra AC to opportunity attacks, the high effect could be extra AC to against everything. And high effect to use a reaction to give a +1 to AC. I think that's a little bit too weak, because you would be spending your reaction as well to get a +1 to AC. I think that the +2 against opportunity attacks with the mind of like, I'm a wizard, I have a staff, I'm not surrounded, I'm engaged in melee. I would usually cast a saving throw spell because I don't want to get disadvantage on my attack roll, and probably don't do anything else, or disengage action and just waste my turn. So by casting the saving throw spell, you have a chance to trigger this, get a +2 to your AC against opportunity attacks, and see if the target is like not extremely high hitting target. You could risk moving without taking the damage with the +2 to AC. And if you're all very high, then I don't know, you're doing Gandalf tricks with your staff and you're blocking attacks, not only the opportunity attacks, but also other attacks in that round, because you casted that spell so well. You have a high morale boost. The flavor is a little bit wacky here, as you can see. Like, we cannot really explain all the possible effects in a very natural way, but it is getting somewhere. Also, the staff is usually an unpopular choice, I think. Okay, Crystal, we have a good, nice idea from Paul, something that stores energy. So what effect would that be mechanically, storing energy? What does energy mean in D&D terms? As a high effect, half spell slot level back. Let's see, let's take the extremes, okay? We take the extremes always to see if it is balanced. So you cast a cantrip and you get nothing back. That's now a very wasted ability of your spell focus, right? And if you cast a 9th level spell, you get a 4th level spell back. I think the spell slot is not easy to balance here, getting back spell slot. And there are other abilities that already do that, and some magic items as well. I was thinking the energy might be you transmute the power of the spell, but it's gonna be for damaging spells. Sadly, only. Like, Yes, temp HP. I was thinking that. So maybe 20% of the damage you deal, you get it as temporary HP. But non-damaging spells would give you nothing. So maybe depending on the spell level, temporary HP depending on the spell level. How much? Things like Witch Bolt, meaning that you chain a target, you link with a target and you keep doing damage. I don't understand how that would work with all spells. Damage over several rounds. But what amount of damage are we talking about? How would you scale that? Initial damage might be small. Yeah. Yeah, also Witch Bolt is a concentration spell, don't forget. And this thing, if it's not a concentration spell, it's gonna be really strong. Like, if you crit once in a fight, then you will have a permanent damage over time effect without any chance to stop it. We could go on another spellcasting focus to be more offensive. I think the crystal, if we take the energy store as flavor, I think it doesn't sound very offensive, so it shouldn't be related to damaging stuff. The energy store, other than spell slots, getting back spell slots, I think the temporary HP works okay. And the formula could be something like 3 plus 2 per level, like an initial 3, or an initial 2 and 3 per level. So at level 5, level 5 would give you, sorry, level 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Plus 2, 29 temporary points. That's not much. I think that's not gonna break anything. But you have the possibility to get it at each turn, right? So 3 plus 3, maybe, yeah, 3 plus 3 sounds better. And that would be the low effect or the high effect? I think that would be the low effect. 3 plus 3 per level, temp HP, and the high effect. The high effect could maybe be restoring spell slot, but not half. Half is a little bit. What else can we do except anything with... what else can be perceived as energy in D&D? There is no stamina in this game. Oh, max HP. That's another idea. Yeah, your max HP could increase your max HP per level. So until the end of the fight, your max HP increases by yes, that's why I'm thinking a much lower number now. By 2 plus 2 per level. So a minimum of 2 on the cantrip and an extra 2 for each level of the spell. So a level 3 spell in this situation would give you 6 plus 2, 8 maximum hit point, which is almost a level higher. Of course, this will not stack, so you can only get it once. If you get it twice, you keep the highest. I think that's good. That makes the crystal a defensive choice for someone who is going for a defensive or is lacking defenses in a way. 2 plus 2 per level, max HP. Okay, while I was thinking that, I had an idea for the instruments. For the percussion instruments like drums or war drums, gong, etc. This type of instrument, I think, to me, it sounds like a morale boosting, like marching instrument. So the first thing that comes to mind with this is some kind of boost to your allies as well. So it could be increasing saving throws, similar to the Paladin's aura, but to everyone who can hear you. You can hear you play. So you cast this spell with your war drums. You're like playing a different tune for every spell, I suppose. And this sound of the war drums or the gong is empowering your allies. So the low effect could be a +1 to saving throws until the end of your till the start of your end step, or maybe 2. We can give it. Wait, is it? I think 2 is a little bit too much. So 1 on saving throws, and the high effect could give to attack rolls as well. To attack rolls, or it could give a higher number, +1 and then a +3. So it's the defensive choice for the instruments, let's say, defensive for allies as well. So low +1, a D4 Bard Inspirational for free. On another instrument, yeah, that could be an idea to work with Bardic Inspiration. The percussion one will have the saving throws related, high to any ally that can hear the spell. High, the bonus increases to +3. and it lasts, of course, until the start of your next turn, as all the effects that have duration here. Okay, so Bardic Inspiration bonus. To which one? To the string instruments or to the wind instruments? I think the choice is very fluid here. That's true. Yes, they are pretty much only on the Bard class. So we could put some class features here as well. An extra D4 Bardic Inspiration for free. What I don't know, I don't want to mess a lot with the resources. What if we say that any Bardic Inspiration that is used on that turn has a minimum roll of 3. So even if it is a D6, a D8, or how high it goes, it can get a minimum roll of 3. That will be the low effect, and then we have the high effect. The high effect could give something more powerful to that. You could use it on your own as well, like when you use cutting words, the Bardic Inspiration is used to reduce the saving throw. So your minimum on the cutting words would be 3. So you know that you're reducing at least by 3 when this is happening. I don't think there is a feature that uses Bardic Inspiration that takes your action, is there? I think they're all bonus action or reactions, aren't they? I might be forgetting some Bard feature, but I think there is no action Bardic Inspiration feature. So you would always have the option to cast a spell and take advantage of it in the same turn with a bonus action or a reaction during the round. Yeah, probably they're tasks, that's why I'm ignorant to them. Okay, so low, any Bardic Inspiration used until the start of your next turn has a minimum roll of 3. And the high effect what could be the high effect? A high effect could be like advantage, in quotes, advantage on Bardic Inspiration, like you roll twice and you keep the highest. It should be when giving Bardic Inspiration, right, and not when someone uses the effect. Oh, that's true. So how do we phrase that to be more simple? Any Bardic Inspiration given this round? Or given or used, right? We can phrase it like that, which means that makes now interesting like synergy. You could give out bardic inspirations. You could give bardic inspirations and everyone like is holding onto them until you trigger the effect, and then everyone uses them on that round and they have a minimum of 3. A waste if you don't have any uses left. That's true. That's true. Then we can give the high effect. The high effect restore 1 bardic inspiration. If you have it, restores 1 bardic inspiration. It could be a full one, because the high effect is less likely to happen. It could be a full inspiration, so I think it would still be balanced. Regain 1 of your used bardic. Now, with this in mind, as this instrument plays out, it gives incentive to bards to not forget their bardic inspiration, because if they crit and they're full, and the high effect does nothing, but also gives them incentive to not go all out from the very start and use all their bardic inspirations and go to 0 like in the first 4 rounds. The probability of having bardic inspiration uses left needs to be calculated. No, it restores 1, so if you have used 1, you get it back. It's only wasted if you have all your bardic inspiration intact. So you need to be somewhere in between to take like the most advantage of this. You need to be neither on full and neither on empty, which is a good thing, I think, because it pushes bards to be more resource mindful and also not like brain AFK and never use their inspirations. Also in this, I just noticed that our bard effects yes, this one is the only one with limitations. I just noticed also the bard effects, the instruments, they do not scale with spell level as we intended at start. Are we okay with that? Neither the string nor the percussion ones, they do not scale at all with spell levels. We kinda ignored that idea on the bard instruments. Yes, it's a bit tricky because they have many saving throws that do not do damage effects, and if we start using bardic inspiration as part of the effect, it gets even more tricky. Yes, they have a lot of concentration stuff and druids as well, but what can we do here? The limiting on the playstyle, even though it's the only one that is limiting their playstyle a bit, I don't think it's too much, and the possibility of gaining back a bardic inspiration, I think it's a little bit strong. On the next spell used, no, I think that goes against the whole idea. Everything is until the start of your next turn, so that would break this rule. All the other effects are until the start of the next turn, and it would make it easily abusable because you would be spamming cantrips all the time until you get that. Not only it gives you a way to abuse it, but also it will force your playstyle to always keep your good spell until you fish this crit. So it will push into a direction that makes the gameplay less fun. It should not be tied to anything that comes after, because then it gives a clear direction of how you're supposed to be playing. -2 on saving throw. That could be an effect. The free bardic inspiration with the high effect that we have here is not very that different. Like, it is essentially a free bardic inspiration, but not in the case that you have all your bardic inspiration. So only in that case, it's not a free bardic inspiration. In every other case where you have used at least one bardic inspiration, it is a free bardic inspiration. So far the percussion instrument is focused on buffing everyone's saving throws. The string is focused on using on your bardic inspirations. And then the wind instrument, it can be an offensive one that has penalty to saving throws, as you suggested before. So what would be the low and what would be the high effect? And what do you mean? You have the effect of enthrall? No, we cannot put a spell effect, a new spell. That's too much. And also it gets too complicated. The penalty to saving throw is good idea. I'm just wondering if it has to be low or high effect. I think it has to be high effect. If we're talking about actually we can mimic the percussion in the opposite. So the low effect is a -1 and the high effect is a -3 to their saving throw. How does that sound? And this is actually quite strong. The -3, because it does not only affect your spells, it will affect everyone else's spells and abilities for that round. So it's a huge debuff there. But of course the chances are low, so yeah, I think that's okay here. So we have a defensive, we'll have an offensive, and we'll have a utility one. I think that covers it, the bardic instrument, very well. 3 categories, and you pick one that fits. Hello, Titus. This is amazing, Titus. It's not only good. I don't know how much you can see from the text, but we're messing with spellcasting foci now, and we just finished the bardic ones. We splitted them into we splitted it into 3 categories. Oh, by the way, the shirt is exactly for these mechanics. I don't know if you can see it well. It is a crit or quit. So it fits perfectly with the crit themes that we're making here. It's just a bad to buff hex blades. Permanent buff, yeah, because Hexblade Curse is very hard to land, right? But I like these bardic instruments a lot. Now that I see them again, 3 categories: offense, defense, and utility or middle ground. We can actually see these effects. What do you mean? You don't see the effect, or are they too small to read? Maybe they're too small to read. I can try and make them bigger. Crits don't happen often, that's true, but you have a divination wizard, you know. You have a 10% chance at the start of the day to store a crit. Is it 10%? I don't know. Might be different number. But he rolls 2d20. If one of them is a 20, you have a guaranteed crit for your day. Oh, why don't you, now that I had this idea, why don't you make all your new characters to be divination wizards, right? How many portents? You'll roll like 12 portents every day. At least one will be 20, right? What's the chance? Wait, where is my probability calculator again? 12 dice. At least one to be... Okay, so you have a 45% chance every day to have one crit ready. Yo, that's amazing idea. Full divination wizard party. Every day you have 45% chance, 46 actually, to get a guaranteed crit on one of your attacks. Okay, back in the topic now. We're done with the instruments. Wait, did I tell you about Tidus, about the new... Wait, where did you hear that? Not new subclasses, but I mentioned to one of the groups. Down the line, after we finish with the weapons, after we finish with the new death system, that I think I've talked about it before, I have the next plan is to have subclasses. Now the name sucks, I know, but I couldn't find anything better currently. What are these? These are next choice. These are after you pick your subclass, then it splits again into two, and you get to pick a subclass. Specializations, that's a good name. Okay, thank you, Kevin. Specializations. So yeah, the next part after these are done are specializations, let's call them for now. So each subclass will have two different specializations, which you pick at level 10. Once you reach level 10, each class picks their specialization. And the specialization now is the unique part. You don't pick it when you get to level 10, but you get it when you go at level 10. No, there is no Twilight specialization. What do I mean with that is that I'll give you an example. So let's say we have a Paladin Oath of Conquest, like your second character, Tidus. So the Oath of Conquest has this theme of conquest, right? You are a conqueror, or you are part of the army of a conqueror, etc., etc. So by level 10, you get this subclass at level 3, and then by level 10, after 7 levels, if you have conquered something, then let's say you get your oath evolves into Oath of Completed Conquest. Let's say one example. If you have not yet conquered what you were trying to conquer, then your subclass is the Oath of Ongoing Conquest. So depending on what you did with your subclass, it would take one of the two directions, the completed conquest or ongoing conquest, and will give you different bonuses and buffs, of course, depending on what you have done. So that's the idea of this project. Of course, it's a big project because you have so many subclasses, and we need to do two different specializations for those subclasses, and they all have to make sense and to be somewhat balanced. So as you can understand, it's a long-term big project. But I find it very interesting because it's not going to be a purely mechanical choice. It's going to be based on what your gameplay was until that level. Of course, if you start at level 10, you can pick it right away. Or you can make a backstory that automatically picks it that way. But if you're not starting at level 10 or higher, what you did in the game picks this specialization for you. It's like evolving your subclass based on how you played your character. I don't know about you guys, but to me this idea sounds very cool. Like a choice that is not purely mechanical, but came out of roleplay and choices during the campaign. Yes, Okrog wants to conquer a big woman, but Okrog is not Oath of Conquest Paladin. So yeah, that was a big... when I'm doing this, I have to finish the weapons and spellcasting Foci first. Then the heroic death project. This is not gonna take too much time. I have already pretty much thought of the details. I just need to test it a little bit in numbers to see how it works. It's not gonna take more than I don't know, 2 hours of finalizing. Then after that, I have the spell casting without spell slots. There's a little system that I will implement it as a feat at start. So you can take this feat, which allows you to use more of your power, of your arcane power, to cast spells. So even when you run out of your regular magic, meaning spell slots, you can go into spell casting without spell slots, which is gonna have like risk and consequences and probability of failure, etc., etc. This is also, so that's gonna be a feat. And if it works well and it looks balanced, it might become a general feature for all spellcasters with spell slots. After that, we are done with the homebrew project, and we can start the specialization project. Of course, I'm gonna start with classes that are being actively played in the game, in my games, and then move into subclasses that are not really picked at the end. I do not expect it to be completed before the end of the summer. So I think at the earliest we're talking about September, because there are a lot of subclasses, even excluding Tasha and the other supplements that I'm forgetting their names. It's still a lot of subclasses, and then we're talking twice the number. Where is Rembrandt? He likes to cast spells. Probably, yeah, I don't know. Ping him on Discord. He's slacking, probably sleeping, I think. Okay, back to the Foci. So we made also 2 of the arcane ones, the crystal, the defensive one, the staff. Wait, the crystal is storing energy, increasing temp HP and max HP. The staff is increasing AC. We want an offensive one now. Which of the other 3, wand, rod, and orb, sounds the more offensive? I think the rod, right? Or the wand. Definitely not the orb. I don't think the orb sounds offensive. But wand of magic missiles is offensive. Orb, rod of the... I'm trying to think some of the generic rods. Both are the offensive. We can go both of them on the offensive side. Okay, how about we can make them both offensive, and then make the orb middle ground, utility. What bonuses do we give them as offensive spellcasting foci? One of them will have increased damage. That's a simple and logical choice. So let's say the rod will have increased damage. Low effect and high effect. The high effect could increase the overall damage of the spell by 20%, I'd say is fair. As a number sounds high, but the probability of getting the high effect is low. So let's say fireball that deals 40 damage will deal an extra 8, right? I'm not failing my math, right? Have to go, but make anything caster related really OP for Rembrandt's his birthday. Okay, we'll try. Have a good night or afternoon, Tidus. So 20% increase on the high effect, I think it's okay. Now the low effect, could be, well, we can simply put a 10% there as an extra effect. But maybe we'll get some more unique idea. What if what do you mean initial or total damage? The spell will deal. Oh, you mean for spells that do ongoing damage? Oh, spiritual weapon as a magical secret. How would that work with the damage calculation? Okay, first of all, in this specific example, it would not, because you are a bard and you have one of the instruments. So you would not have an arcane focus, right? So in this specific example, it would not work. Again, a cleric with spiritual weapon will not have an arcane focus. So the only situation with spiritual weapon would be on a divine sorcerer. Divine sorcerer uses arcane focus. So in that case, good question. In that case, that's a tricky one, because it rolls every single time for an attack, right? So it's basically a weapon at this point. Can you upcast spiritual weapon? I can't remember. Is there extra damage if you upcast spiritual weapon? Okay, you can, when you cast this spell using a spell slot of 3rd or higher, the damage increases by 1d8 for every 2 spell slot levels above 2nd. So it can get upcasted, but increases every 2 levels. So let's say you cast it on 4th level, spiritual weapon. With 50% less effect, as Kevin suggests. Let's do an example. Okay, 4th level spiritual weapon. And let's say you crit, you get the high effect with a rod, 20% extra damage. That would make the spiritual weapon roll 2d8 plus wisdom modifier. I would assume that's a +5 at that point. So a maximum of 16 plus 5, 21. Plus 20%, that gives you an extra 4 damage, bringing it to 25. Okay, here's my problem with that specific weapon spell. It is rolling an attack every turn. So it has a chance to crit separately from this effect. Potentially, like if you crit with spiritual weapon 4th level, you roll 4d8s plus 5, that's 37 total maximum. 20% of that is almost an extra 8 damage. And there is a lot of math involved on every round. I think it's getting a little bit complicated. Another damage die or 2. But that would make it really bad for spells that have a lot of dice, and really good for spells that have few dice. The reroll ones I thought about for the low effect. So for the low effect, I was thinking you can reroll 2 of the dice of your choice, like up to 2 damage die, you can reroll them. I was thinking that as a low effect. The damage done by the spell. Okay, let's pause for a second. We don't need to make every spell casting focus compatible with every spell possible, right? That's our point here. So you pick the spell casting focus that fits your spells and your needs more. So if you know that you're a divine sorcerer and you're gonna play with spiritual weapon, you shouldn't be going for the rod, right? You should be going for something else that suits your spiritual weapon attack pattern. Although spiritual weapon is kind of wacky here now that I think of it, because it is a spell that continuously makes attack rolls. So I would say the rod increases 20% of the initial damage. It is a spellcasting focus for burst damage, for high burst damage to make it even better. Yeah, so maybe we can make the wand. The wand can be an offensive focus that is more toward the ongoing effects. So low effect for this one, can reroll 2 of the damage dice and keep the second results. Okay, second dice. Damage, initial damage done is increased by 20%. Okay. So the rod is focused for burst damage spells. And now the wand will be the offensive choice for ongoing spells. Low and high effects. So what can we do on ongoing spells? Tell me some of your ongoing spells that come to mind, so we see what similarities they have and what we can boost on them. Spiritual weapon, big beast, big beast hunt is another one. What other ongoing spells we have? I'm thinking on the wand now, Paul. So the rod is the primary choice for offensive burst type of magic, and the wand will be the primary offensive spell for ongoing type of magic. Concentration spell, yeah, these are so many. Buff, but that's not offensive though. That's defensive again. And also, the crystal is a indirect buff to concentration, right? Because when you have temporary HP and you get damage, that does not trigger a concentration saving throw. Only when you lose HP, you get a concentration saving throw. So the crystal is a defensive buff for indirect buff for concentration spells. What if we increase the duration? But then again, it's very rare that you're gonna run out of rounds, since most of them have 1 minute. All the wall spells, fires. Okay, yeah, I see. Okay, yeah, there are many. What? The low effect can be the same as the rod. Rerolling damage dice, I think is... Wait. The rerolling damage dice can be the high effect here, because you're gonna be inflicting the damage continuously. So rerolling the dice here is a much higher impact than rerolling it once, right? So if you get the high effect with a concentration spell, every time you damage, you can reroll some of the damage die. That sounds powerful enough for a high effect, right? Yes, the reroll would work over the entirety of the spell. It will be a permanent feature for the spell as long as it is going. So that would make it way better than it is on the rod. So it needs to be a high buff. Hex. True. Yes, on Hex or Hunter's Mark, but Hunter's Mark, I don't think Rangers use Arcane Focus. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. High result there. And for the low result, the low buff, what could be the low buff? Oh, okay. Idea, as you suggested earlier, buff concentration, but only buff it for 1 round. So you don't get the disappointment of losing your concentration spell before it even managed to do anything. So like at least have it up for 1 round. And it's not a permanent buff, so it's not strong. For a low effect, I think that's okay. Buffing your concentration for 1 round. until the start of your next turn. Okay, wand is ready. Now we have the orb, which needs to be the utility, the middle ground. We have 2 defensive, 2 offensive, and orb will be the middle ground. What utility can we provide to arcane casters that they need in combat? Spell slot refined is dangerous territory. We discussed it earlier with the crystal. It's dangerous territory, and it's best if it is let as a subclass feature like divinations or magic items, and potentially too powerful for a weapon chance, for a focus chance. Utility. What is something that spellcasters don't do in combat because it takes up too much of their action economy? Like stuff that casters usually do not do when they compare it to a spell cast, and they think like, oh, that's so much worse than casting a spell. Or encourage them in a way to use spell skills. Attack. No, attack is not a utility. It is offensive. Plus, they usually want attack anyway. Like, they don't do much with attacking. Divination spells. Yes, Kevin, of course. Okay, here's my idea now. Until low effects and high effects. Until the start of the next turn, you get a +4 to all your ability checks. Ability checks in combat, meaning you are in combat, right? Ability checks are not very often used, but as a utility, maybe you want to spot a hidden enemy, like maybe make a perception check, maybe climb or try to get out of a grapple, and you want to roll your athletics, not concentration checks. Ability checks. And +4 is a good boost, right? So you can be creative. It is a utility thing. Maybe even a +5. I think, yeah, even a +5. So +5 to ability checks until the start of the next turn, and high effects, they can take the hide action for free on this turn. How about that? Something that casters never try because it's gonna take their action and they don't want to hide for no reason and then possibly fail. So yeah, it would be more for arcane tricksters or for casters that play on the stealthy theme side, let's say. Maybe not only hide, maybe take one of the following actions for free on your turn and include hide, Disengage. No, disengage is defensive one, and we don't want to overlap with stuff. Disengage, dash, search, what else? Other actions in combat that are not often used. Second object interaction. Yes, investigate, arcane checks. All these are right. They're not a typical action in combat. Let me check if I'm forgetting something. Actions in combat 5. What? 4E, not 4E, 5E. So we want the actions that are not offensive or defensive. Dash, hide, search, use an object, I think that's it. Yeah. The investigate arcana checks are included in the search. Okay, so low effect plus 5 to all ability checks until the start of your next turn. Wait a second though. Now there is a problem. I just realized. In order to get this, you need to cast a spell. The spell probably has taken your action. So without an action, what ability checks can you do even? So the low effect is wasted like that. Yeah, we can have the free ability check as a low effect here. So you can take one of the following actions for free this turn. Hide, dash, search, object interaction, meaning a second object interaction since you get one for free. Any other action we can include here that is not offensive or defensive? If this is designed to encourage people to take different options, then I don't think many people would pick this focus for its features. Well, we haven't finished with it yet, so who knows, maybe the high effect will change your mind, Paul. What can we give it as a high effect to make it a competitive option with the other 4? I have an idea that will definitely entice Paul. I'm not sure how balanced it is. Okay, so high effect. If you have not free whisper, if you have not moved or taken a bonus action on your turn, you get a free action to cast a second spell. Any type of spell, no restrictions. How balanced is that? Sounds a little bit strong, doesn't it? This breaks one of the... No, not a cantrip, a full spell. It is the design is intentional to break the spell casting rule of 2 spells in a turn. I'm thinking the possibilities here of abusing it. So you have to sacrifice your movement and your bonus action for this, meaning that you only casted a spell on this turn. But then after you cast it, what stops you from then moving and casting a bonus action spell? Tricky. This is tricky to balance. Yeah, this is extremely hard to balance. Although it sounded like a good idea, now when I'm thinking about balancing, it's a nightmare. A free summon. Oh my god, what summon? Like, this complicates things a lot. I'm thinking back on restoring spell slots. What if it restores a first level spell slot? So it's not, it doesn't scale with levels, it always restores the first level spell slots. Could buff arcane recovery, but then what about classes that do not have arcane recovery? Then it's useless for non-wizards then. Screw them. What about the restoring level 1 spell slot? Does it sound bad? I think it's good, because when you run out of spell slots, you can still spam cantrips and hope to get one back with this feature. And when you're casting higher level spells, it still doesn't hurt you to get back some first level slots, does it? You have spells like Shield, like Mage Armor, that always expend some of your first level slots. So it still doesn't hurt you to get some of them back. At low level powerful but gets weaker. Yeah, you're right. You're right on that. Should be an epic moment. Yeah, Paul has a point there. What if we increase the boost to ability? So the low level is that it gives you the free hide, dash, search object interaction, okay? A spell that has a ritual tag could be casted. But you have already used your action. You cannot cast a second spell. So I was thinking if you get ritual spells are all utility. Do it as a reaction. Cast a ritual spell as a reaction. Yeah, I can see that going very wrong. As a reaction, I cast Lemon's tiny hat. Now we're safe inside. No, I can see this going very wrong. Ritual spells are actually strong because they need the extra time to cast. What if we increase the bonus to ability checks? Tiny Hat still has 10-minute cast time. Yeah, but you said as a reaction. Do it. Paul said as a reaction to cast it, and such don't. But is that really a benefit? It's not a benefit much for an epic result. Make the bonus an aura. You mean everyone can take hide, dash, search, object interaction for free on that turn? But then it goes on the support side. Maybe, yeah. Something like creatures within 20 feet of you get a +5 to all ability checks until the start of your next turn. Something like that. Yeah, I think it works. It does work. I'm trying to think if there is any other more utility option here. Yeah, also potentially boosts people who try to grapple, people who try to hide. No, saving throws, no way. Saving throws is insane. +5 to saving throws. We gave to the instrument +3 to saving throws to allies that can hear you. So that's the supportive option for the percussion instrument type. We definitely cannot give a +5 saving throws to an arcane focus. I think the +5 to allies and ability checks, including you, which allow you to take a hide action with a +5, allow you to take a search action with a +5. The dash action can be useful on its own. Object interaction as well, like you could cast a spell, get a high roll, and be able to give a potion to someone else, or drink an extra potion and open a door or something like that. It gives your turn more functionality, I think. And that's the point here of the utility. Unless what if it gives you an extra bonus action? How does that sound? Is it bad? Is it okay? Is it overpowered? What can spellcasters do with an extra bonus action? I know sorcerers would love it. They would be able to meta magic 2 conversions in a single turn. Spirit guardians? No. Spiritual weapon? Probably yes. Flaming sphere could trigger twice, yes. So some offensive spells would be able to attack twice. That is correct, but that's again limited. Are there any defensive spells that could trigger twice? If there are some offensive and there are some defensive, then we have achieved good balance. Mirror image does not do anything with a bonus action. Other than spells, what can a caster do with a bonus action? A Misty Step, yeah, you can use Misty Step, but you cannot use 2 Misty Steps since they're both spells. So you could use Misty Step as your normal bonus action, and then what? What will you use the second bonus action for? Nothing. Okay. Yeah, unless you're having a specific spell like Spiritual Weapon, Flaming Sphere that utilizes continuous bonus action, it's not a big buff. That's why you have concentration spells, to have something to do with your bonus action. Like you pick, Kevin has an interesting idea here. So giving one of the other effects to an ally. No, that doesn't work well. It would work well with the crystal and the staff, but it does not work well with the wand and the rod, because it gives you the effect before they have even cast their own spell. Which again, like if you give the rod effect to another caster, then they're pretty much forced to use a spell that deals damage, and that it's doing the opposite effect of what we want, right? We want to give people choices, and that is effectively taking out the choices. Give someone an attack as a reaction. That's a feature of, that's an ability of the Warlord class, which is not a, it's one of the class that I'm planning to enable. So no, I don't want to give that to an item. It's going to be a class ability. Yes, it is a fighter maneuver as well. So we're between the plus, I think the +5 to ability checks for you and everyone within 20 feet until the start of your next turn is okay. It's not very epic, yes. But if we are talking about utility, I don't think there is much epic utility, right? Out of combat, if you can use it, it is overpowered. Like giving everyone +5 to all skills out of combat will make all skill challenges super easy, will make all dialogues and PC interactions super easy. So yeah, it's not designed for out of combat, it's for utility inside combat. I have another idea. +5 to all ability checks to you and your allies, and you, the caster, gains true sight until the start of the next turn. True sight 60 feet. What about that? That is a bit more epic now, right? No, utility is more about repositioning, moving, hiding. Yes, only if there are things to see, but even if there are not things to see, you still get the +5 to all your abilities. So it is a multi-bonus. And you give it to the others as well, the +5. So it is strong. It's just not epic. Like giving a +5 to your barbarian, advantage and save on athletics. Who is gonna win their grapple? Any grapple attempt with +5 and advantage is gonna be impossible to beat. or giving to someone like Cal +5 to their hide check to get hidden. Also, I don't know if you remember, there are some items. There are some items and spells, especially not especially, there are some homebrew items and spells that have introduced into your games that have skill checks. Religion, nature, investigation checks. All those items and spells, with that in mind, get way more powerful. And don't forget, Paul, that you can use it yourself. Like, since you can take the hide action for free because of the low effect, then you can hide with a +5 to your hide roll at the same turn that you casted the spell. Or you can move in, cast spell, and then dash back out. Two or three times the chance. No, I don't want to make different chance tables for the... That's too much. I'd rather choose something that is as epic as possible. Here's another idea. What if it allows you to re-roll your initiative? Meaning you have a chance, based on how the initiative is structured, to have a turn again before the main target of the opposite side has a turn. But it also has a chance to not do anything. A high risk, high reward benefit. That is more on the epic side, right? Because if it works, you actually play twice in the same round. And it's not offensive nor defensive, because you can do different things with your whole turn. So you can be defensive or you can be offensive if you want to. But it gives you the chance, and it's pretty much a random chance. It's not based on any stat, it's just random, because it's how the initiative is structured. It gives you like a random chance to play twice against a target. Potentially you will play twice against other targets, but maybe against not the target that is the big bad boss, or maybe the target that you want to focus. But I think you will play twice before certain other targets for sure, since you're moving in the initiative, unless you roll the exact same initiative as you rolled before, right? So if an enemy is below you on the initiative list, and you have your turn, then you have to roll after you, but before them. If they are before you on the initiative roll, you just have to roll after your initiative roll. Either way, you know your next turn will be sooner. Correct. Correct. Your next turn will be sooner than it originally was. A time stop. Is it time stop? I guess it could be, depending on the initiative roll that you... yeah, I think it could be translated as time stop or time acceleration. Like you accelerate time for you by a bit, so you act faster. Yeah, time stop is a little bit extreme because it has other implications as well. It does not affect only you, it affects others too, that time has frozen for them. So I'd say time acceleration, a little bit of time acceleration for you is yeah, bullet time. Okay, now then we made the utility now sound epic, right? I think we can agree that this is epic. You have to roll higher than you did before. No. Even if you roll lower, if you roll lower than you did before, then you're gonna act again on the same round. If you roll higher than you did before, you're gonna act on the next round, but sooner than you would have acted based on your previous initiative. So it's gonna be faster than you would in any way. Your turn will come faster, but depending on how the initiative is structured with the enemies, you might act twice before them or sooner after them. Either way, you're gonna act, your next turn will come sooner than it would before. So instead of going the full circle around, it will stop after you or before you at an earlier point. The only case this does nothing is if you roll the exact same initiative as you rolled at the start. So if you roll the same initiative, nothing has changed. Like your next turn will come at the exact same time as it would before. So you have 1 out of 20 chance this to do nothing. 5% chance. 5% chance this to do nothing completely. Okay, with that, arcane foci are done. And we have only 2 foci left, the druidic ones between animal and plants categorization. But before we get to those, we'll do a short break because my throat is almost ripped. If your roll is after the current turn order number you get, your current turn order number, you get another turn this round. If before, you get to act sooner the next round. Yes, that is correct. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Paul. So, short break, and we'll be back to finish the druidic foci and then continue with the weapons. Be right back.
with a slow motion crew, and we up in our growlings when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. And I'll be running, possessed by a low, low voodoo. Fired up like a wolf on a full moon. And we're stuck in a la la land. The tides will turn without us. And I'll be killing time like I might be a cartoon. Take it in real life like haiku.
Okay, I'm back. What is this? I'm here, I'm not AFK. Okay, last we have the, let me see if does this show on chat? No, it does not. Okay, the chat window is empty again in the stream. I don't know what's going on with the chat. I'll have to do more troubleshooting after the stream, I guess. Anyway, druidic foci now. Animal and plant, two types. An easy distinction between the two bonuses could be that one is affecting animal spells and wild shape, while the other one is affecting plant and elemental spells. And since druids have a lot of concentration effects, one of them could be boosting concentration checks. If we tie it to wild shape, though, casting a spell takes your action, and if you're not a moon druid, actually, yeah, let's not tie it to wild shape. Let's keep it to spells. What could be? Since these are different from the arcanes, we can have some similarities with the arcanes for druids, because druids will have to deal some damage and healing as well. Rerolling damage dice can be a low effect from the plant one. Okay, what else as a high effect? And I think the chat is broken again. Not sure how to fix it. High effect. We could have half of the damage or healing dice, initial dice from a spell that if it has duration, the initial ones. Actually, not half. Every damage or healing die that is above average or average and above, let's see, so a d6 that is 4, 5 or 6, it gets maximized. So if you're rolling like a healing ward, for example, anything that is a 3 becomes a 4. And you can re-roll 2 of the damage dice as well, so you have a good chance to maximize damage or healing on the first instance. Okay, and what do we do for the animal one? For the animal one, what do druids? The high effect can be a bonus action, extra bonus action, right? Druids with their concentration spells, they sometimes have a use of the extra bonus action. Let me do a quick check. Where is my search tab? I've lost so many tabs here. What are the most common uses for bonus action? Druids and bonus actions. So Silele, Healing Spirit, Healing Ward, Grasping Vine, Guardian of Nature. They don't have many uses other than spell. So we could give them a use of their bonus action. Or, since they're casting a spell, if we give them an extra action, means they cannot cast another spell, or it would let them cast a cantrip and a spell. How abusive can this be? Spell plus an action means dodging, disengaging. Maybe an attack. Call lightning would allow them to strike twice. That's not terribly abusive. So high chance, or maybe that should be on the plant one though. Okay, no, it's good, it's good. High. And as a low, what could you do as a low action? Specific to druids, something. Druid action surge, correct, Kevin. You get druid action surge once they cast a spell. Think of all the claw attacks. No, that triggers when they cast spells. It cannot trigger in wild shape, right? It's a focus, unless somehow their wild shape allows them to cast spells. So it allows them to cast a spell and then maybe dash, maybe dodge to keep their concentration up, maybe make a Silela attack. So it's not as strong as it sounds like, because it's a druid who has to cast a spell and then just take another action. The general spell casting rules still apply, so they cannot cast another leveled spell. So maybe they can cast at best like a cantrip, I don't know, Thorn Whip, and then cast a leveled spell as well. The most strong usage I can think of is cast Lightning Storm, get an extra action and make the lightning hit again. So it's like a lightning crit that they can get, which makes a little bit of sense because we're modifying crits in this thing. So that's like the strongest application I could think of this thing. Now, as a low effect that would trigger more often, what can we give those druids that's not related to concentration checks? Because I think that's overused already. What else can we give them? What if they get a small amount of heals? Like healing themselves and other people around them. Scaling by level, of course. For example, you get 2 times your level healing, and you can distribute it to any creatures within 15 feet of you. So at level 5 you get 10 hit points, and you can distribute it to either yourself or split it among any creatures within 15 feet. It's not too strong. It can trigger often because it's the low effect, so it's gonna have high chance. And it's not it's something that benefits like pretty much all the time, unless everyone of course is full HP, but that's a rare chance. You have to trigger it on your very first spell and no one has taken damage. I think it's okay. The other idea is to boost concentration checks until the start of your next turn, but we already used that in an arcane focus. Then again, with that effect, the two foci start to feel very similar. Like one of them is doing more damage in healing, and then you get more healing, free healing from that. Maybe the concentration boost is the only actual benefit here. Okay, +2 to concentration checks until the start. I think it's good for a low result. It might be the same as the wand, but other classes use the arcane, other classes use the druidic. Now the choice in the druidic is the animal one is more generic, applies to more things, and you can do more things with your extra action, while the plant one is maximizing the effectiveness of something. Like you can reroll 2 of the damage or healing dice, and with the high one you maximize the already high rolls. So the first one gives you more options, while the second one makes your current options better. I'm thinking maybe the first one could be lower a bit, +1 to concentration checks. No, I think that the two is okay. What are the chances? So again, so I'm taking the example of the worst example, lightning storm, call lightning. That's a 3rd level spell. So when you cast it, you have 15% chance to go into the brutality effects. Then about 50% chance to get a +2, and about 10% chance to get an extra action and call it again. It doesn't sound too bad. It doesn't sound unbalanced. I think it's good. But compared to the wand now, this one is much stronger. The wand now is weaker than this. Until the start of your next day, you can reroll a damage die. You keep the second result every time. Oh wait, that's every time. So it's for continuous effect. Yes. Okay, never mind. They're balanced. Let's save because accidents happen. And I think we are now done with the spellcasting foci. And we still have weapons to go. We were doing halberd and glaive and heavy chain flail. What other weapons we have that are similar? I want to rework blowgun. That's one of the things that is coming. So blowgun right now is really bad. It's terrible. Blowgun. It is useless. Yes. Did it get imported? I think no, it not. Let me refresh. Okay, blowgun and blowgun needle. So right now, as it is, the blowgun should not reveal your location when you attack with it. Depends on the blowgun, I'd say. You would definitely get a sense of direction. Also, if you are hidden, maybe we can think about it. It's not a very crazy idea. So currently, it does 1 damage plus your strength modifier. I don't know why the strength modifier is applied, but in any case, it is bad. It has a very limited range. What was the range again? 25 range is the reliable, and 100. I don't know why it's not 30 and 120 like the javelin. I don't find the 100 feet very realistic anyway for the blowgun, but yeah, the design of this weapon has made it unplayable. This ammunition is designed to be fired through a blowgun using the force of the wielder's lungs. These needles are frequently tipped with deadly and crippling venoms. So, the idea is, here, we make some default poisons and venoms for the blowgun. So whenever you buy a blowgun, it comes with certain poisons with it, like 2 or 3 types. These poisons apply on hit, and then you have the possibility to buy new poisons and apply it to your needles. And applying the poisons is a short rest activity. You can apply to a certain needle amount. Yes, it is gonna be now a utility weapon to apply poison. So my idea for the blowgun is gonna be a venom / poison applying weapon. With a little bit of different range and maybe modifier, because it is because it is based on your lung capacity. I think it would make sense for this weapon to be constitution based. Of course, aiming takes part in this. So I'm thinking I think it would work as a constitution based weapon. So pretty much everyone can use it. Oh, that's a very nice idea. Con mod could determine the range, yes. And dex could still be the accuracy. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. So the default would be 25 plus 5 feet extra for each point. It's 5 times your con modifier. I lost my words. So if you have a +1 to con, then you hit at 30. If you have a +2 at 35, etc., etc. So with a maximum of +5 to con, that's extra 25 feet. You would be hitting at 50 feet range reliably with the blowgun. Or we can boost it to 35 and then have a total of 60. Yeah, 60, which is the usual range of some spells, most of spells. So 35 plus 5 per con modifier. 35 to 60, okay. And dexterity for aiming. Then it would apply the poisons on hit. And the poisons, of course, have the saving throw usually. Oh. So a basic poison, for example, has a DC 10 Constitution saving throw or take 1d4 poison damage. That is very weak, but it is good for start. Like it can be a cheap poison that comes together with the blowgun. I say that this poison is for weapons that actually do their own damage. So the D4 can be scaled to a D6. And then it can have 2 more or 1 more different types of poisons. Yes, of course, it will not be 100 gold. This will come for free with the blowgun purchase. Like you will get, I don't know, a vial that is enough to coat 100 needles. and you would get that for free with your blowgun. And you would get 1 or 2 more types of poison. That one would have a chance to poison the target, apply the poison condition, and another one that maybe some other effect. The poison condition is strong though, so whenever it is applied, it will trigger saving throws at the end of turn. Okay, let's start writing this down before I start forgetting. A sleep poison option, like on the movies and TV show. That's true. A sleep dart, a sleep needle should be one of the options. And yeah, to make it balanced, we'll see what the DC needs to be. Okay, alternating the blowgun. A primitive but deadly weapon. Deadly? Really? Whoever made this thought that it was deadly? Okay, so 35 and with disadvantage that so if it can go up to 60 deadly to all the commoners, yes. I wouldn't go too far with the range on the disadvantage, so double the range. I would say 70 to 120 depending on what your con is. Oh, it doesn't take 2 numbers. Never mind then. I'll put 70. And also I'm thinking that the attack can be either dexterity or intelligence. Sometimes knowing where to blow might be as useful, like knowing the direction, like wind direction and how the target is moving, can be as good as precise aiming. And allows more classes that have low dexterity to use it. So it could be either dex or int. Damage is 1. It doesn't take any mod, and then the poisons will apply. We can give it 1d2. That's not big of a difference. 1d2, and then what else? Because all the poisons will have some kind of saving throw. The brutality effect from the blowgun is if you're on the crit, you roll on the d2s and both of them are 2s. Saving throws against the poisons are with disadvantage. So the needle went so deep inside that went inside the artery or inside the direct blood stream, or hit a very vital spot, or completely went inside, something like that. a blowgun. Where are my notes again? Wait a second. What? Oh, come on. No, 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 no. The changes didn't save, but I saved them before. Come on, why are you doing this to me, Foundry? All the changes are lost, for fuck's sake. I remember saving it, but maybe I had lost connection because of the disconnect at that point. Fuck. I guess I will have to watch the stream again and do all the changes again. But let's type the Blogan for now. Blogan, new version. Or changes. Dex or int to hit. Range 35 feet plus 5 per con mod. Reliable range. Unreliable, double the previous. Three basic poison types for free with the weapon. Each can coat 100 needles. Actually, let's make it 50. I think 100 is too much needles. Then what else did we say? On crit D2 on crit 2 times 2 equals target has disadvantage against the poison. Okay, then the three basic poisons. Uh, Okay, one of them will be dealing DC 10. Let's say the DC 12. 1d6 poison damage. Save ends turn. We need an acronym for this that would make sense. End of save turn and EST end of save turn. Poisoned. The crippling venom would be reducing movement speeds, I suppose. Something like the effects of the slow spell would be, I mean, half movement for sure. So maybe we can give it a higher DC, 13, half movement. It is possible to have a poison that does the slow effects of the spell, but that needs to be like a more expensive poison, not one of the three basic ones. So the three basic ones should be very simple and like you hit the target once with the blowgun and then you swap to another weapon or something like that. It's not supposed to be hitting like all the time with the blowgun. So the three poisons and venoms that you get from the start needs to be a little bit weak. Definitely I want to make more poisons and venoms that would have some of the spell effects or similar or new ones. Also one that makes them fall asleep, as you said. So half movement, EST again. And let's see others. Sleeping dart, like sleeping dart, or wait, no, it's not a dart. It's sleeping venom, sleeping poison. Let's make it sleeping venom. DC. Now, putting a target to sleep is quite powerful effect in combat. Reduced healing taken, yes, that's a good idea as well. What would the DC be for sleeping someone? I think it should be 10. What if it starts with 10? Now the venom lasts 5 rounds. It starts with 10, but every round it gets harder by 1. So 10, 11, up to 14. Like the target is feeling that it's getting sleepier and sleepier and sleepier, and we'll need to fight it somehow. Or maybe 4. And then the question is, how long do they sleep? I'm trying to balance here sleeping someone mid-combat versus sleeping someone in like an espionage sneaky scenario. The second one is what we want it to be used to. But if we make it too easy to sleep combatant people will just blow a dart mid-combat and then gang up and like auto-crit. So that's a good idea. So if it is outside of combat, the DC is different. So in combat, DC could be like 10, and out of combat, DC could be 14. Yeah, I think that's a good DC 10 in combat, 14 out of combat. And disadvantage, essentially 10 and 14 is almost disadvantage. So disadvantage mechanically, yeah, I guess we can do that too. Let me think if there is another implication with that. If they have disadvantage, yeah, if they have disadvantage already, then the disadvantage doesn't do anything. But changing the DC is always a reliable thing to do. So how long do they fall asleep though? 1 minute? 1 minute, do they get a chance to wake up? If there is, because it's not a magically induced sleep, like it's a chemical induced sleep. If there is fighting happening, shouldn't they be waking up? Okay, we can have the save. The save that when they repeat their save at the end of their turns. Okay, so they'd be aware of combat but unable to act. That then we go into paralysis effect. That's not sleep anymore. I would say they roll their saving throw at the end of their turn. If it is in combat, it's with advantage. If it is out of combat, it's with disadvantage. So they will lose 1 turn regardless. So it acts as a stun effect. Let's say they fall asleep for at least 6 seconds. And at the end of their turn, if there is combat, there is high chance of them waking up. If it's not combat, it's low chance of them waking up. And then other poisons depending on the not depending, sorry, other poisons with spell effects or similar effects can be made, and that's further development. We don't need to make all those now, and we can tweak those as well. But the general idea is that the blowgun works differently. It can be dex or int to hit. It has a con on range. It has a brutality effect that makes them roll with oh yes, there's a brutality effect that makes them roll with disadvantage against the effect. So if they're out of combat and you crit, they have disadvantage on the 14 with the sleeping poison, and then disadvantage for all their saving throws, so they're gonna stay asleep. Duration, total duration, -30 minutes. Innately stealthy. How do we do that? Like when you're hidden and you attack with the when not in combat. I mean, okay, when you're not in combat and you're shooting this on someone, you're supposed to be hiding and doing it, right? You wouldn't be doing it in plain sight because you would instigate combat. So when you're hidden and you miss with the attack, you are not revealing your position. If you hit with the attack, they know. Like they know that something stung them, they see a needle, they know the direction, so they have like some reaction time, even if it is 1 or 2 seconds, to look towards that direction. So if you miss while you're hidden, if you miss with that weapon, you do not reveal your position. Now this blowgun has uses, has usage that can see the light of play. Especially if a group is trying to avoid combat scenarios, equipping themselves with blowguns will have much more potential to achieve that goal. With any other weapon or with spellcasting, voice components and stuff like that, it's very hard to be stealthy. Now the blowgun gives you this option, and since it's int and dex, more than rogues and other ranged characters can use it. A little bit more complicated than your usual weapon, but now it can see play. Also the price of the venoms, the 3 basic venoms are, the prices are reduced to 0 since you get them for free. When you buy a blowgun with 50, enough to coat 50 needles per one of those 3 types. Oh, I didn't add durations to those. Okay. Of course, yes, it's not meant to be a damage dealing primary weapon, and it is not one now as well. It's still a utility stealth weapon, but we gave it brutality effect as well. And it gives you a more reliable way to get access to poisons. Like poisons were super expensive before. Also, these poisons are specific for needles, so you won't buy the blowgun to get free poisons to coat your other weapons. These are only needle-specific poisons. And it will give some players the chance to experiment with poison and sneaky tactics without spending a fortune on expensive poisons. And more poisons can be introduced to make the blowgun even more interesting in the future, since it relies on consumables. Okay then, I think that would be the last weapon for today's stream, as we've reached our stream's end. It's been 4 hours already and I didn't even realize how fast it went with all the spellcasting foci. We did finish all the foci though, and the changes were lost because of that internet disturbance, but I will watch the stream back again to see the changes and copy them again into the sheet and make them proper items in Foundry, so I can distribute them later to the players in the sessions. So a few weapons left, mostly ranged weapons that we did not touch. Daggers, swords, scimitars, and the finesse weapons have not been touched yet. I think everything else is done. Everything else has new brutality effects, blowgun and pike rework, and spellcasting foci, all of them different abilities. We're getting there. I think the next stream will finalize all the weapon changes, and then we can move on to the spellcasting feat that allows you to cast without spell slots. When that is done as well, the big project with the specializations can start. Oh my god, that's gonna be a lot of work. I'm just thinking about all the subclasses times 2. Jeez, only the wizard, if I think about the wizard, only the wizard has, what is it, like 20 extra specializations now, if there are 10 subclasses, which is around 10, isn't it? Only for the wizard I will have to make 20 specializations. Jeez. Oh, okay, but yeah, we're done. We're done for the, oh, clerics, fuck. Clerics too, yes, clerics, wizards. Oh, jeez. And find, oh my god, so many subclasses, and I'm not even using all the sources. Yeah, that's why I said it's not gonna be finished before summer. That's certain. It's a lot of work, but I'm gonna start with the subclasses that are being used currently in the games, so we see them and test them as soon as possible, and then move on to the ones that are unused. But yeah, this will be it for today. Thank you all for joining, and the conversations and the ideas, they help a lot, and looking forward to see them all play tested, especially with your divination wizard, Kevin. Wondering which foci focus you will pick. Have a nice evening, afternoon, night, wherever you are, and I'll see you next week. And I've lost my streamer interface. There we are. Okay.